Good evening and welcome to Tête Opera Festival, broadcasting live from the Cockpit Theatre for Cockpit Broadcasting. My name's Bill Banks-Jones, Artistic Director of Tête. I'm very, very pleased to be introducing Buddha and the Monkey King. We had a fantastic show here on Saturday night, playing to a live audience, and enjoyed it very much indeed. There's a couple of things I need to say to you before the film starts. First, what's going to happen tonight, we're going to show you three different films, so you're going to get one after the other, an introduction to Chinese music and the Ruan, which Michael C.T. Lamb, the Buddha, as well, and librettist will play, and you'll hear about that, maybe some other bits. Then you'll see the performance here on Saturday night, and you'll know at once that you're seeing that. Then finally you'll see a trailer for the full thing. And that leads me into the second thing I need to say, which is, like everybody, we've had a hell of a year. And we've spent the whole year with the artists going, I just put a marker in the sand, and we'd agreed a festival almost at the beginning of the year, which we then had to completely upend. But I said to everybody, let's go for the nearest we can get to a live festival and hang on to what you really care about in your show, and we'll just do as much as we can in the circumstances. And no show has been affected as much as this one, which was going to be about 4 times as long and have 26 people performing live to a live audience, and has now ended up with 4, but very good they are too. Important you know that, I think it helps you enjoy the piece even more to understand the ingenuity of the artist going through both the pain and the creativity to arrive at this point. The next thing to say is that this is all part of a big plan that we've been doing, working with the Paul Hamlin Foundation to create a report for the whole sector really on the reopening of theatre. This is building on from our pilot with the Department for Culture, Media and Sport that we did in July. And to that end, it's very, very helpful to get your responses to an email you'll receive after this broadcast, which asks you quite a few questions, which, if you answer, you'll be contributing to the reopening of the theatre. The final thing to say before we enjoy these 3 films is how this is an interactive broadcast. The answer is, at the end of the 3 films, you will be able to type, or even during, you can type questions into the chat. They will be fed to me on a screen in this studio, and I will pass them on to our panel, who are all 4 performers from Saturday night. Anyway, without more delay, let's go to the Buddha and the Monkey King.
Chinese music has a rich history and contains numerous genres in many different styles. The traditional Chinese music that has retained in modern times, including folk music, religious music, and traditional theatre. Compared to Western music, traditional Chinese music infuses pursuing melody and rhythm change, and generally has more freedom in terms of change of tempo and rhythm. Harmony has another meanings in Chinese music. In the Western point of view, most of the traditional Chinese music is heterophony. Although most Chinese music uses a pentatonic scale, there are many other scales and tunings in the Chinese music development history. In fact, the standard 12-tone equal temperament was originally invented in ancient China. The new culture movement produced a high amount of new music in China. At that time, Chinese musicians started to think about how to modify traditional Chinese music by using Western music theory and composition techniques to fit the modern standard. The modern Chinese orchestra first developed out of Ganglam Xizhou ensemble in the 1920s into a form that is based on the structure and principles of a Western symphony orchestra, but using Chinese instruments. The modern Chinese orchestra typically consists of 4 main sections. These instruments are generally grouped according to the way they are played. 吹弹拉打 wind instruments, plucked strings instruments, bowed strings instruments, and percussion instruments. Among those percussion instruments, I have used wooden fish in my composition. A wooden fish, also known as Chinese wooden block, is a wooden percussion instrument. It is one of the most important instruments often used by monks during Buddhist rituals. In a modern orchestra, people commonly used a set of 5 different sizes of wooden fish. In order to fit the global standard, Chinese musicians have also created many new instruments, especially low-pitched instruments. Many of the new Chinese instruments are modified versions of traditional instruments. For example, the bass sung is a larger and lower version of sung. However, many people may prefer to use cello and double bass rather than their Chinese versions, 格胡, 低音格胡, or 拉弦. Therefore, don't be surprised when you see cellos and double basses in a Chinese orchestra. Nowadays, many Chinese orchestras or ensemble groups play not only traditional Chinese music or Chinese contemporary music, but also the repertoire of Western classical music, popular music, and more. Many orchestras tend to combine other art forms and technologies to produce multimedia performances.
唔止廣東啊，流行曲、西樂都玩啊。
Yun is an old Chinese instrument, but at the same time, it is also a new instrument. Yun is a Chinese surname. In the 6th dynasty's period, there was a Chinese scholar called Yun Ham, one of the 7 sages of the bamboo grove. He was a great musician who loved to play a plucked string instrument. It has a flattened neck, a round soundbox, and 4 strings. Later, people called this instrument after his name. It was used to be called Yunham, but today it is shortened to Yun. Unfortunately, this instrument has been disappeared in Chinese music history after Tang Dynasty. Since the 1950s, in order to develop the modern Chinese orchestra, Yun has been reinvented and improved. The modern Yun has 24 frets. The 4 strings are made of steel, and the frets are made of ivory or made of metal mounted on wood. The following are some basic techniques.
Hi, I'm Wu Cheng'en. Today I'm going to introduce you a Chinese instrument. It's called the erhu. It is known as the Chinese violin as well. So basically this instrument is constructed by only two open strings, which is the D string and the A string. And at the same time it is very similar to the Western violin, where there is a bow and at the same time a string for us to play. But the position of the erhu is slightly different than the Western violin, where it rests its instruments on our lap. And while playing, the technique is similar to the violin, while we use our right hand to play the bow and left hand to pressing the pitch. The erhu bow is very similar to a violin bow, as it is made of a bamboo stick and some horsetail. And it is placed between the D string and the A string. The holding position of an erhu bow is not similar to a Western violin. We require two fingers who've been slot inside over here and use the thumb to support the bamboo. Something like this. And it can be pushed outwards to play the outer string, which is A string, and use these two fingers together to pull this back so it can be played in the inner string, which is the D string. To combine two together is in the push and pull technique. Over here we can see that the instrument itself, we use snake skin as a vibrator, and through the bridge it vibrates the sound through the snake skin and it produces the sound like this. This is the open string of D and an open string of A. The erhu is constructed by two tuning pegs over here. We've attached the D string and the A string. Besides the tuning pegs over here, the erhu also has fine tunings as well. Although the erhu is a Chinese traditional instrument, it always can be played like a violin, where I can play semitones on both strings. So, it is not like some other Chinese instrument where they only can be played in pentatonic scales. Moving on, the erhu actually sounds much more mellower compared to the violin. It sounds like this. In ancient time, the erhu is oftenly used in the Chinese palace, where it is played with an ensemble combined with Chinese zither, guzheng, pipa, erhu, and many other more instruments to play pieces for the emperor. Besides it is used in the palace, the people also plays the erhu as well. So many Chinese composers did compose solo songs or solo pieces for the erhu itself. Mainly, the composers composed erhu pieces in two categories: northern music and southern music. Southern music always replicates a scenery, and its characteristics is always smooth, slow, and mellow. Here I'm going to present a piece is called Liang Xiao, composed by Liu Tianhua, and it is played in southern style. The northern style music for erhu, it usually replicates the morinka from the Mongolian family. The characteristics of the piece itself is usually detached, fast-paced, and very broad. Right now, I'm going to present to you a piece in northern style. It is called The Running Horse, Saima, composed by Huang Haihuai. This song symbolizes running horse in the northern part of China. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please take care and stay safe. Bye bye.
has gone through the bitter experience of 1,750 calvers, with each harvest lasting 129,600 years. How dare you make such a boast? How dare you make such a boast? Stop this nonsense! Stop this nonsense! If not, you would die, and it would be a pity.
Even if the Cheng'en has practiced religion for many years, he should not be allowed to remain here forever. The proverb says, every dog has its day. Tell him to give up the celestial palace and offer it to me. If not, I would turn it upside down and give him no place.
Besides the immortality and the transformation power, what else can you do to challenge the hellfire like that?
I know 72 transformations, and the life that does not count for 10,000 campus. I can travel 100,000 miles in one somersault. I can't take over heaven.
You do have great abilities. If you have the ability to escape from a right palm, I shall consider you the winner. I shall ask the Jade Emperor to move to the west paradise and let you have a celestial palace. If you cannot get from my hand, you will be a demon on earth and work through a field of calvers for more years.
Ha ha, what a fool! Can you decide for him?
Yes.
Cut! I'm off!
孫悟空大鬧天宮400幾年之後，喺洪江渡口發生咗一宗命案，有一個年青人俾兩個船夫謀殺。呢位年青人就係即將就任江州州主嘅新科狀元陳光亮。
And with him is much more. What will you have me do? Help me kill the husband, I'll keep the wife, and take his name, but my own will go to you. What evil spirits taken hold, rising in me, stealing gold. I'll have money enough to own a fleet of river boats. And I'll throw into the mist in darkness we can cut through. Ha 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 ha. come by my golden cup. Fresh fish caught daily today, speciality. Come by my golden cup.
How much, sir? I need it for my mother, who rests from sickness in disease. I have a string of copper coins, copper coins.
You are a good child, as your mother is so sick. You may have it for the string.
I thank you kindly, fisherman. What is this I see? This golden cup brings up a dream. I remember from my childhood that fish or snakes which blink are ordinary creatures and should be treated as kings. Fisherman, you must take it back from whence it came and set it free and never fish it out again.
When meditating 18 years ago, I was aroused and heard an infant cry on the river bank. I saw a Of you need not be distressed. Our enemy captured, together let's rest.
Wow, wow. We might not have achieved what we set out to do there, but you definitely can see the scope and vision of Anna and her energy, and the energy in her music is really, really thrilling. It's great, great work. We kept the ticket price of this event very low deliberately so that you can show your appreciation by making a donation. There's a link that will hopefully appear in the chat right now, which says easydonate.org/king. But let's invite our panelists in. We have the 4 performers with us, hopefully. We missed Lixin at the beginning, but hopefully she's here now. And I'd love to ask Anna to tell us what you'd spend your donations on. So if you'd all like to turn your sound and cameras on. Hey, there you are, Anna. Oh, hi. You have
Hello.
made it, Lixin.
Hello, sir. I was a bit late because my internet had some problem.
Oh, nightmare, nightmare. And here's Michael C.T. Lamb, who you saw as Buddha and Ewan Player. Anna, anyway, tell us about how you'd use donations.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us in this evening. I'm so grateful that my opera can be included in this year's Tête Opera Festival. These past few months has been really hard for the arts and of course all the artists. If you would like to support us, you would make the donation. And we will use this money for creating and working on our next opera, The Monk of the River, which is going to perform in the next Tête Opera Festival. Your donation can help us to produce a better work. Whether or not you can help financially, please tell your friends about us and the festival. They can even catch up with this broadcast for 28 days. Thank you.
Yeah, anybody can buy a ticket, or if you've already got one, you can come back and watch it again, which would be well worthwhile. That was a fantastic movie at the beginning as well. What we had in the live performance was Michael telling us about the Yun, and I didn't expect to get all that as well. Anna, a question about the music in. Tell us about the trailer you made for next year. So that's the 3rd film that we saw. It sounded like lots and lots of instruments. Were you using MIDI instruments? Was it all? How did you make it?
Yeah, for the Western instrument, I've used MIDI to do it, but for the other parts like the erhu, yiwu, the dizi, dexi, and also the ran, yun, I asked some of the Chinese instrument player to help me to play the melody, and then I inserted into the MIDI. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very effective because I'm listening to it going, well, that is an erhu, and then going, but how can that be? And yeah, you did it really well. So that's presumably that's effectively art in isolation. Did you make it all over Zoom?
No.
Oh, that's interesting. It just kind of looked like it. Let's ask some other people some other things. Lixin, I've never seen you without your monkey head on. How is that to perform in? I don't know if the audience could see it. Had these very cute ears up here, but I felt for you. You had fur all over your ears, didn't you? Oh, hang on, you're muted. I don't know, Ben, if you... Oh, there
Yes,
you are. You should
I
be
can speak
unmuted
now.
now.
Yes, I had a fake like fluffy furs all of my face, all over my face. I think that's one of the most challenging parts for me, because the fake ears really made a difference to my hearing, and I could not really see Anna as well, and because I had to face the audience, obviously. Yeah, but I think the costume are really nice to wear, and it shows character, and when I wear it, I feel I'm like a monkey.
Well, you delivered the most lovely, engaging performance. I was wishing we could have more close up, really, because it was just lovely. Now, Ling Ling, I've got this theory that when a pianist writes piano music, they really challenge the pianist. How was it for you? It sounded beautiful and so full of energy. It sounded like a lot of notes going on there.
Yeah, it has lots of semi-quavers, and it's exciting music. Yeah, I practice a lot.
Yeah, well, it sounded fantastic. It sounded effortless. Yeah, it sounded absolutely beautiful. And Michael, you did so much because the program says you wrote the words and were Buddha and played the yun. It was a lot, isn't it? Tell us about your yun solo in the middle. Where did that come from? Is that from Anna too? Oh, you're muted, Michael. Everybody's muted. Okay, you're on.
Because she's
okay.
Okay, all right. The solo session of the Yun actually tells the story of the Monkey King, and it's actually talking about the life of the Monkey King before he met the Buddha. Musically, I would say it is half improvised. I have written some phrases and elements in different sections that the performer, Michael, has to include, but also some variety for him to explore and improvise. It makes every single performance unique. For example, in the first section, Michael played the yun like a gukam, which is a plucked 7-string Chinese musical instrument that has more than 3,000 years of history. This move has the meaning of played for himself, which you would see there was a lot of sliding and overtone playing in that section.
Yeah, it all blended remarkably well here. It was really interesting to have the documentary at the beginning and you explaining to us how Western instruments influence Chinese. Because a few years ago we had, I mean, they accomplished it very well in the end, but we had Chinese Turandot where they blended Chinese and Western instruments, but they were medieval Chinese instruments. The tuning was really hard to get them to fit together. It took a very long time. It was great in the end, but this fits incredibly well. Was it easy to do? Was it challenging? Seems very natural to me. Oh, you're muted again. Everyone keeps muting.
I think the modern Chinese instruments has invented to make it more easy to work with the Western instrument. So it's not very difficult for the tuning. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. And Michael, where did you learn the yun? Have you played it a long time? You sound so virtuosic. Have you played it forever, or have you picked it up?
I have learned it for some years. I mean, I started to learn this instrument when I was 12, I think. Yes, at the first year of secondary school, and then I joined some operas and ensemble groups in Hong Kong. Yep.
Well, it sounds absolutely fantastic. And just remind the audience, got about 5 minutes left. Do remember, you're very welcome to type your own questions into the chat. We'd love to hear from you, or comments, or anything else that you think. But anything you four want to add in? Oh, I've reduced you all to silence, haven't I? Tell me, have you all studied in Britain?
Yeah.
All four of you, that's interesting. But you're at different you've studied at different places, haven't you?
How to say, we have studied in different places, but it ends up we all study at the Birmingham Conservatoire. Yeah.
Oh, really? I got in my head, Ling Ling, you were at the RNCM, or maybe you did both.
That's me. I
Yeah.
started at the RNCM for my bachelor and master degrees, and then I did advanced postgraduate diploma at the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire. Yes.
Sorry, I said Ling Ling, didn't I? When I meant Lixin.
Oh, okay.
God,
That's fine.
it's inevitable. Ah, inevitable.
All right.
And Anna, perhaps you've already shown us a trailer, but perhaps you can tell us about the next the whole thing. Particularly interested what all the 26 people are doing.
Yeah, because for the next opera, there will be involved a lot of singers, and also it is written for an ensemble with some Western and Chinese musical instrument. So I think for the ensemble, it's already like 10 people or more, and then the remaining is the singers. So the video you have just watched is I picked some of the highlights, some of the trio and arias, and some of the excited beat of the next opera to give you all an idea of what is going to happen and what the story is talking about. But some of the important scenes that I've kept and let you all to experience it in the next Tête Opera Festival. Yeah.
Well, I can't wait. I hope we have a festival. So, like, such a cliffhanger at the moment, isn't it? Questions are flooding in, and suddenly we're running out of time. So, very quickly for Lixin, since there have been many incarnations of the Monkey King via different mediums, how do you make this role your own? Well, I'd say you certainly did.
Well, yeah. I think so. What I did was firstly, obviously, I familiarized with myself with the music and the words. That's the foundation part of it, and then I find references to build up a frame for the character. For example, by watching by reading the original novel and watch different dramas and films has been done by the Chinese film company, and I think and I watched different versions of it, like the A Journey to the West, the name of the novel, and in order to combine the music with my version of Monkey King, I actually I did the choreography for myself, and actually we discussed about the characterization of the character with my colleagues, and the ideas can be combined organically with the music. I think
Your work really paid off because I saw you do the very quick rehearsal in the theatre where you suddenly had to face all different ways and found out you couldn't hear and all that, but you were very secure in your performance. It was very clear and very certain and a beautiful performance. Well done. We've got one more question which ought to go to Michael, which is who made the Yun that you were playing? It sounds amazing.
Well, I don't really know. I bought it from Taobao.com, and it is not an expensive instrument.
Well, it sounds amazing. It's probably time to wind up. We've got 30 seconds ticking away on my clock. So if you'd like to support this enormous, amazing extravaganza next year, it's easydonate.org/king. And thanks for a really brilliant hour, you four. Thank you very much indeed.